Let's get straight to the latest on President Trump's expanding trade war, with several new twists we are following this morning. The first on our stock market, the ASX sharply up this morning, promising signs amid global uncertainty. Also developing now, China and Trump trading blows. The president ratcheting up that levy to a whopping 125%. And at home, Australia denying a plea from Beijing to stand hand in hand against the United States. Our 9 News team is across it all this morning. In a moment, Effie Zahos with the latest on the share market. We will also have Liz Daniels following the political fallout. But first, US correspondent Lauren Tomasi leading us off from the White House.
While the world is feeling whiplash here, the White House is insistent that this was Donald Trump's plan all along. The US president announcing this big backflip in policy in an abrupt social media post declaring there would be a 90-day pause on reciprocal tariffs on countries around the world, and that the baseline of 10% would be what's in place for those countries who initially had higher reciprocal tariffs while negotiations get underway. The one country this doesn't apply to, though, is China. Donald Trump taking a really aggressive step against Beijing today and raising the tariffs to 125%. The US president says he did that in response to retaliatory measures taken by China overnight. Beijing putting in place 84% tariffs against the United States. Donald Trump says it is not respectful.
The geniuses of the world, they get it. It's not a negotiation until it is, and that happens. And, you know, I said outside that you have to have flexibility to do it right, and that's what we have. We brought everybody to the table.
After a flurry of social media posts, the announcement of this pause and the increase on tariffs against China came in an abrupt post on Truth Social by Donald Trump. He says it was written from the heart, but it seemed to catch a number of his advisors off guard, including his US top trade representative, who was on Capitol Hill answering questions as that post went out.
So the trade representative hasn't spoken to the President of the United States about a global reordering of trade.
Yes, I have.
And
I've just been in the hearing with you, sir.
But yet he announced it on a tweet. WTF? Who's in charge?
Donald Trump's top trade advisor says this is the art of the reciprocal deal, making reference, of course, to Donald Trump's book, The Art of the Deal. What this has done is given a little more certainty to Wall Street. Within minutes of Donald Trump's announcement, the markets were bouncing back, making significant gains from those losses which was experienced over his Liberation Day announcement. What appeared to be a growing global trade war now is a US-China trade war, and the world is watching on.
Let's go from the White House back here to the studio and bring in Nine's money editor Effie Zahos, who is closely watching the share market for us. Effie, how is it looking this morning?
Well, look, this is a man-made crisis. One man's doing this, so it takes one man to turn it around, and you can see today that the ASX has piled billions in the first couple of minutes of trade. Yeah. So as soon as Trump announced this pause, the American markets jumped up. The Nasdaq 14%. We don't see that. 2% jump is a great. 14% is crazy. Back home here, we're seeing that the ASX opened up about 6%. It's fallen a little bit now. It's around 5%. When you look at all the major companies, CBA, CSL, BHP, all gone up. The big question is, we know this is only for 90 days. What's going to happen after 90 days? And from our point of view, the tariffs are on pause, have gone down to that reciprocal level at 10%, that baseline. We're already there. So I know this is good right now, but it is for 90 days, and we know there's so much volatility here.
I don't necessarily think Donald Trump knows what happens after 90 days. We did see him take to social media before he said he was pausing the tariffs, right? And
Absolutely,
he suggested this was about to happen.
You are absolutely right. So a tweet came out before he made the announcement saying something like, it's a good time to buy. And then announces that the tariffs will be on hold, there's a pause, and what happens? The markets shoot up globally around the world. I don't know, from my school of thought there, this is a little bit of, you know, this is inside trading.
Yeah, this market manipulation.
Crazy. I would say it is market manipulation. And it'll be, you know, time will tell whether this, you know, gets further talk or discussion around that. But absolutely crazy to come out in this backflip, in the sense that I think he said it's the partners were getting a bit yippy. So I'm going to put it on pause. So you can see here that this is temporary. It's only 90 days. What the market is seeing here, so from Australia, that those rate cuts that we've been speaking about, the market forecasting as many as 5, that's still happening. NAB has only just announced 2. These are forecasts, of course, 5 rate cuts. NAB has just announced 2 that they're expecting 2 rate cuts in May, a double whammy. And they're expecting to see the actual cash rate go down to 2.6% in February next year.
Effie Zahos, thank you so much for joining us. Let's take it down to Canberra and talk to today federal politics reporter Liz Daniels. Liz, Beijing is asking us to join hands in the face of this US trade war. And Ali, the answer from the Deputy Prime Minister is a hard no. In an extraordinary about-face, Beijing's ambassador is now blasting Donald Trump for what he calls sabotaging international order. This is the same Chinese regime which only recently lifted its own hefty tariffs on our Australian barley and wine and lobster. In a piece in the Sydney Morning Herald and The Age, it's now asking Australia to join hands and defend global free trade. And here's the response.
I don't think we'll be holding China's hand.
We will speak for ourselves. And we speak for ourselves, and Australia's position is that free and fair trade is a good thing.
We should work with like-minded nations and others who've got an interest in bringing this to an end, but we should work first and foremost in the interest of Australia.
Now, overnight, the US Deputy Secretary of State Christopher Landau sat down with the head of our Trade Department and finished by publicly thanking Australia for being a steadfast ally in upholding a free and open Indo-Pacific. Australia, of course, now risks being caught in the middle of this trade war between our closest trading partner and our closest strategic ally. Big business urging both sides of politics locally to grow the economy to safeguard against ripple effects.
We've said all along, we've got to play the long game. Ultimately, those chickens will come home to roost if a different approach is followed.
Now, Ali, all this as Australians prepare to go to the polls in an election that is increasingly focused on which of our own leaders can better handle these international relations, the talks and the economic turmoil that comes with it. And who knows what twists and turns are coming next. Federal politics reporter Liz Daniels in Canberra. Liz, thank you. Okay, turning to the rest of today's news, dozens of firefighters have spent the morning battling an apartment block blaze in East Melbourne. Police say the fire is suspicious. Selena Zhang has more.
Firefighters have been able to contain the blaze here in Hawthorn, but the road remains closed and there's still quite a lot of ash drifting over the street. The fire started at around 4:20 this morning. Residents in the apartment next door say they were woken up by the sound of glass shattering and rushed out onto their balconies to find flames tearing through all 5 units. Around 60 firefighters were called in to battle the blaze, and it was a shock for neighbours who stepped out this morning.
Pretty awful, like it's a special building in the street, and also we've had several other fires, so it's quite fearful. If it gets to the river, it can carry and catch other houses, so yeah, not a good feeling.
Neighbours say a couple had recently moved into one of the units, but luckily no one was inside at the time. The cause of the blaze is still being investigated, but police believe it was deliberately lit.
An 11-year-old boy is in hospital with serious burns this morning after a backyard fire in Brisbane. Emergency crews found the boy with severe burns to his face, chest and arms at a Morningside home. He's now in a stable condition.